Greetings and thank you for tuning into the Starboard portal. I'm Craig Leweck and I'm taking a break from my day job at Scuttlebutt Sailing News, and I'm going to host the U.S. Sailing's video channel. And today we are joined with Rome Kirby and Kimo Worthington. But before I start, I wanted you to note that if you enjoy today's session, and we really hope that you do, that you will please support U.S. Sailing's efforts to build a community of active and engaged sailors through the Starboard portal by purchasing or renewing a U.S. membership. There's a lot of great content up on the schedule, and thanks to U.S. Sailing members, the organization is able to adapt and evolve during this wacky time to better serve the sailors and provide content like this. So please lend a hand by joining or renewing your U.S. Sailing membership today. Onward now, and before I wanted to get started, though, I wanted to say that there's this whole, I'm not sure how many guest hosts they've had for this Starboard portal, but it's all feeling like some other kind of show. So I've been wanting to say live from Zoom, it's the Starboard portal. So let's get started here. I was given these biographies for these two gentlemen, and unlike the Reed brothers, I'm going to blow through them, and so that we're not spending the next 5 minutes listening to what Brad Reed accomplished in his entire life. Rome, I consider Rome, and I consider both these guys some of the best sailors that we don't know enough about. They've spent a lot of time in their lives making other people succeed, and it's good to get them on the screen. Rome is most notably now as the leader of the SailGP US team. This is season 2. Rome's also got 2 America's Cup campaigns under his belt and 2 Volvo Ocean Races under his belt. Kimo is older than Rome. Actually, I want to say, Kimo is, so pre-internet. That it's hard to know. I'm not even sure how you find out about the things you do. Have you got them all written down, Kimo?
No. And there's some things we just want to keep kind of quiet.
Yeah, you probably don't want anyone to know about some of the stuff Kimo and my old man got into.
Yeah.
Well, that's the burden you've had to bear, Rome, is that living in the internet age, and now even worse, the social media age. I think our mission here is to pretend like nobody's watching. Yet we try not to regret anything that we say. Kimo, I like Kimo's bio because it says that he's done, where are we here? He's done 9 America's Cup and
No, 6
campaigns combined. Now, he lived in combined, so no one would really judge how smart he was the number of times he went around the world.
No, I only went once on the boat.
Yeah? Well, then you won.
Yeah. One and done. We won and done.
Didn't you win?
Yeah, we won. That's why I didn't have to do it again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No.
Perfect. I got off that thing and said, that's it. I'm good.
To do that again.
There's other guys better than me for that.
I spoke to Rome, I don't know, I think it was maybe I forget now, maybe it was in January. It was before the SailGP season got started, and Rome's biggest takeaway from racing around the world was that now he is able to eat all the food that his parents tried to get him to eat while he was younger. Because after eating that gruel, pretty much everything is good. Now, Kimo, was there gruel back when you did the race? You did the Whitbread race?
Whitbread Volvo. It was kind of like, it was just starting to be the Volvo, I think it was.
Yeah. Did you have nice meals with paired wine when you?
No, it was actually harder when we did it because we had 12 people, so there's less food. Like we'd have a power bar every other day. There wasn't that much food.
But could you bring your own toothbrush?
Yeah, your toothbrush. That whole thing's a joke. The thing cutting the toothbrush and all that's a joke. Yeah, your toothbrush.
Rome, did you have to share a toothbrush?
No,
that's a silly thing.
Okay.
No. Now I didn't change clothes for 25 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
but it was too cold to take the clothes off anyway. So.
All right. Well, I gotta say this is a privilege to talk to Rome because we've spoken several times before, done some interviews, but this is the first time that he hasn't had a bodyguard with him. He always has some person to look after what he says, some PR flack that's, because I mean, the last time we talked, we didn't talk on video, and it was on the phone, and there was these massive delays before he would answer. And I just felt like, there was something going on behind the scenes. So are you gonna be okay here, Rome?
I'm sure I'll be all right. Hopefully I won't get in trouble by, our PR team but yeah, it should be okay.
we're unedited. We're live from Zoom. And I wanted to say also to, put some reflection, not reflection, but, just to kind of let everyone know where we stand here. Now, Rome's, how old are you now, Rome?
30.
30, yeah. So you are very internet, and you're kicking Kimo's butt in the whole web search thing. You've got a Wikipedia page, which makes you that's next tier legitimacy. And I did a search. You're well over 10,000 web pages, so that's pretty good. Now, Kimo comes along, no Wikipedia page. I think there's maybe 3,600 web pages that have your name on it. So you're the best known person that no one's heard of.
I don't know. I respectfully disagree. I think there's some pretty good stuff, and having everything on the internet and social media nowadays is, I don't know. Kimo's, there's not many people in the world that have won the America's Cup and the Volvo and multiple world championships. So
exactly. So let's just knock this out of the park and leave no doubt who should be buying who a drink.
I probably owe Kimo millions and millions of rounds.
Yeah,
well, he has to. He's the boss. He's my boss. And always the boss always buys, right?
What people don't know is the first professional sailing contract I did sign with Puma. I was 21, and I had to go into Kimo's office and negotiate with him.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what intel did you have? Because I mean, he had all the numbers from years and years. Though some of his numbers were like 6 packs of beer from his early jobs.
Yeah, that was $100 a month.
It was actually a pretty good deal. I got some really good advice from a family friend who Kimo knows well, and he said, going with a number you're really happy with, and see where it goes from there. So with a number in mind. But I didn't even get to tell Kimo what the number was, and Kimo offered me a number to go around the world, and it was basically double what I had in my head. And I was like, "That's awesome, cool, let's do it. Where's the paper?"
I play fair.
It wasn't just room and board. It was actual income, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we should have full disclosure that while Rome's 30, Kimo and I have known each other for probably over 40 years. And thankfully, most of that was pre-internet.
Yeah, that was. Because there's some pictures of you and your get-up back in the day. That would be good.
Yeah, well, okay. And in charge now. Let's remember who's in charge now. But I did want to comment, though, because there was an earlier Starboard portal that had Kenny and Brad Reed, and Kenny had a beef with Kimo in the show. There was this one moment, and I could completely relate because, Kimo was one of the people that I looked up to. Not that he's that much older than I am, but he is a lot older than I am. He kind of grabbed the train of sailing success early on. I think it was maybe. When you were what you were saying, you sailed with Russell Long when you were 19 years old for the America's Cup.
Yeah, came back to the East Coast. Yeah,
and you were saying that was your first paid gig in this sport.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah. Well, I did a delivery. I just got done doing a delivery. I did the Ondine. I sailed Ondine to Rio de Janeiro. So I got paid to do that.
Yeah.
And then they wanted me to come up, and Russell, that was Russell's dad, obviously on the boat, and Russell's on the boat. And they asked me to come up and do the pit when I was 19. So here I was, this California kid walking into Newport, Rhode Island with my Birkenstocks and the hair and the bangs, the whole thing. And these guys are drinking their Dom Perignon and they got their blazers on at the candy store. I'm like, what do I walk into here? But yeah.
Well, and I mean, this is all leaving Southern California, and Kimo, you weren't, your traditional junior program hoity-toity kid. I mean, I don't want to say the high school you went to was a little rough, but I was scared of it.
Yeah, it was rough. We had security guys with guns. Back then. Yeah, and they threatened us a couple of times.
Venice, California. That was a little rough part of Los Angeles. Though now it's all prep, fancy, and my parents live there, so it's safe.
Nice. Yeah, it's nice now, I think. Yeah.
But getting back to Kenny, you abandoned me and left California and probably haven't come back since. You probably come back every once in a while to visit your mom. But Kenny was telling a story about how while you lived up in Rhode Island. And you had some kind, I forget where you were living, but you just kept telling him how nice it was and how he really needs to move there. And he said that right about the time he moved there, you moved away.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. That was last September. Yeah, he just moved in. He was in there for about a year, and all of a sudden, the wife and I were getting a little tired of the winters, and she got headhunted for a job at Royal Caribbean, and we came to Key Biscayne.
All right. Well,
I took a little break.
Just know he's pissed off. Okay.
Yeah, I know that.
But Ken Reed's something that you guys both share a whole lot of because Rome, as you were saying, that was signing up with that team for the Volvo Ocean Race was one of those massive opportunities that you were able to take a hold of. Yeah,
for sure. Kimo and Kenny definitely gave me my first shot. And got my kind of foot in the door with Puma, which was pretty unbelievable to sail with that group. So I was pretty fortunate to get on board with those guys.
Now this is not a very highly produced show here, so I'm going to jump around a little bit because otherwise I'm going to forget some of the things that I want to talk to, and this is super important. Rome, we're going to start with you. Both you guys, maybe this is just my opinion, but you both have pretty cool names. Rome Kirby. Rome is not now. Is there a story behind Rome? I mean, was there mom and dad traveling and?
No, I've had a million different. Yeah, no, it's I'm actually Jerome R. Kirby the Fourth, and my great grandfather who fought in World War I was Rome, and yeah, so that's how I was named.
Wow, very cool. Because dad took Jerry, so you didn't want to be another Jerry.
Well, my dad and my grandfather are both Jerry.
Yeah.
So this was a way to tell who we're yelling at. Yeah. And now Kimo, my memory is that your dad's name is James. Your dad's name is James, and your birth certificate name is James.
I'm actually James Worthington the Fourth.
Yeah. And so, how did we get to Kimo?
We were in Hawaii. And I think they had the little tourist book out, and they saw James was Kimo, and they said, we got to call him something else. And they gave me Kimo ever since.
Oh.
My dad taught school in Hawaii when I was like six months old or something.
Yeah. Okay.
I've had it ever since.
Well, we're all doing this lockdown thing. When you work at Scuttlebutt HQ, your life is kind of in a lockdown, so it's not much of an adjustment to me. But if anyone were to ask, what's a list of tips, I would say top of the list is having a dog. And I know, Rome, you've got a black lab. Is that right?
Yeah. Puppy.
Yeah. So it's good to have distractions.
Yeah.
What's Kimo? What's your chief distraction?
Me? What do I got? I got
his wife.
I got my wife. I'm protecting and serving here in the war room because she works for the cruise line in HR. So just taking care of her right now, honestly.
Yikes.
Just cooking, cleaning, just taking care, just making her life easy. It's been, I don't think she's had one day off in 3 months.
Let me know when it's time to buy cruise ship stock again. I think it feels a little early.
Yeah, it could be. They got a bit on, I can tell you.
So anyone learned a language, learned how to play an instrument, crazy moments, things you've taken on?
Well, that was one thing our coach that we had, and as a team, because we had our team meetings, it was one thing we talked about was coming out of the zombie apocalypse a little better than when we started. What little something, so I learned how to edit video, I'm cooking, trying to learn Spanish, so I'm trying to do a couple of different things. I don't know, whatever, but but you got to try and do something, right?
Yeah. Anything, Rome? Anything that you're proud of?
All my house projects that I've probably put off for the last 6 years. I repainted all the trim, pressure washed everything, landscaped, masonry. I framed in basically the downstairs of my garage. I finished. There's a full workshop in there now that's immaculate. It wasn't like that before. So definitely had a bit of time and put some of that time and effort into my house. So that's been fun.
Well, I'm going to guess we're going to get in trouble if we don't talk a little bit about SailGP. So we better roll to that. Time expires because we've got an hour. We could probably talk longer, but I like to think we're not that interesting. And if people want us to come back, well, then they can have that. But Rome, you and I had talked earlier before the season started, and there was you've reflected on season one, and during the off season, you rolled up your sleeves a bit and made some changes for season two. Let's hit on a couple of those changes on what you're really looking forward to when you were to roll into Sydney.
Yeah, I mean, we had some pretty big changes. One of which was bringing Kimo in to kind of take the pressure off me from running the team, and so I could go back to focusing more on sailing. But we also had a few new guys come in. We had Ben Bardwell and Pete Kinney join the team, and Hans kind of jumped in G2. And so, yeah, we had quite a big change in personnel from season one to season two. But yeah, it was definitely, obviously season one was a tough way to end with breaking the boat and kind of going from on the podium to last. It was pretty frustrating. But coming into this season, going into Sydney, we made some big changes and pretty much did everything we could possibly do without getting the sailing time to kind of put ourselves in a good position. But
Right.
Again, there's just no substitute for time in the boat. And if you don't get time in the boat, it's hard to bridge the gap on, guys like Tom Slingsby and Kyle and that Australian team that's been sailing together forever. And we felt like we actually made some pretty big gains in Sydney. Our group was sailing really well. And yeah, we made some boat handling errors. And I think the back three, mainly me, kind of put our hands up for making a few tactical errors. But a lot of that came from pushing a little too hard and knowing when you're in a good spot and maybe backing off the throttle a touch and just taking a second or a third instead of pushing to win every race. It's
Right.
When you're in the moment going 45 knots, it's pretty tough to kind of pull off the throttle. But, I think that's coming with a bit of maturity and a bit of time. So.
Yeah. I mean, that course was pretty varied. I mean, you got the island in the middle, the wind shifting. I mean, does a lot of the tactical decisions. I mean, you don't have a whole lot of time to chat about it. Does a lot of that fall on you?
Yeah. Which, I think between Riley's input, Taylor's doing a good job flying the boat. We just, again, it comes down to time. Like you said, it's all happening pretty quick and you got to make decisions pretty quickly. And if you're a second or two off, can be catastrophic.
Right. Yeah. No, seemed like there was a lot of penthouse to outhouse to penthouse moment in that race. Now, Kimo, you came into this, as Rome said, to be a critical cog in this friggin' machine. You spent a bit of time last season watching these shows and seeing if you were there, how you would handle things? Or
Well, I didn't look at it that way. I liked it as a fan. I watched it because of the family, because I thought it was cool to watch. So I was just as a fan. And Rome and I talked, the season before a little bit about it, and then and I got into this, and it was amazing. And when you see the boats, you don't until you actually see and get close to the boats, you really don't know the boats. I was blown away by the boats. It was unbelievable, the technology and how much time these guys, or what they've done over these years to make these cool project. I mean, it's amazing. It's actually, and I tell the kids, I'm like, guys, if I hear any of you guys complain, I'm going to fire you. I'm going to kick you all out of here, because you're the luckiest kids in the whole damn world to be sailing this damn boat. I mean, it's the coolest boat in the world. I mean, compared to what we had, Craig, I mean, come on, right?
It's not fair, Kimo.
Not fair. It isn't fair. And they're getting paid. They're like the luckiest kids in the world. So I don't want any complaints. Got it?
Yeah. And Rome, I mean, your dad, Jerry, who, probably hot bunked with Kimo at some point. Does he remind you of this too? I mean, you witnessed his life for so many years.
Yeah, I mean, I followed my old man and Kimo around the world a million, for probably 15 years. So yeah, no, my dad, I think he thinks it's pretty cool, and that we're pretty fortunate to do what we get to do and sail the boats we get to sail. But at the end of the day, those guys kind of paved the way in terms of professional sailing. So if it wasn't for all those guys in that generation, who knows where we'd be right now. So.
Exactly. Yeah. So let's just take this moment, Rome, for you to give Kimo a heartfelt thank you for all the work that he's done.
I'm thankful for Kimo every day. I think I thank Kimo like 4 times a day. He makes my life so much easier.
No, yeah, my dad would remind me, because parents try to tell their kids stuff, and my dad learned early on that that telling Kimo something to tell me was way more effective than my dad telling me how to do something.
Yeah.
Right? That always works.
Kimo is the conduit.
Yeah.
Oh.
So now that I'm jumping around a little bit, but the fact that the SailGP season has been canceled, and I'm sure there was a bit of work before the cancellation and after Sydney. You did some reflection on what happened in Sydney. To what degree now have we been able to drill down, with all the data, Kimo? Have we sliced and diced the tape and the numbers to as far as we can go here?
Oh, these guys? Yeah. We have a coach called Joe Glanfield. He's a 5-time Olympian. He's the best in the world by far. He's amazing. Absolutely amazing. I completely, Craig, I stay out of the sailing part, honestly. I kind of listen to the meetings and I'll guide a little bit, but everything goes through Joe. I actually don't talk to the sailors about their performance or how they did. Everything goes through Joe. And he runs the thing, and they've sliced and diced. They've listened to every, all the footage from the racing, how the different skippers acted. They've gone through it. They've had multiple meetings. They got the playbook all laid out. So we're actually really in a good spot once this thing gets started again. So it's been actually pretty impressive. So for my job, I just kind of manage and make sure everything's kind of happening more than anything else. But Rome, I stay out of the sailing performance with the guys, and I make it.
Rome, can you handle looking at the video anymore? Are you sick of looking at it? Have you just dove in? So it's like, damn, we got to go racing.
Yeah. Obviously it's tough. San Francisco is such an unbelievable venue, and it's definitely by far my favorite personally. And it suits our style of sailing as well. So it would have been awesome to go there and compete, especially after Sydney, because we knew we were fast. We just needed to kind of clean up a little bit of our boat handling issues and communication. And I think we would have been in the mix. And so obviously it's the right decision for SailGP, you know, and but at the same time, it would have been awesome to have our first U.S. event. And
now, I know that, you know, you mentioned how you're not able to sail the boats very much, but that there's a simulator in the UK, I think, that you can buy time to get on. But is there, you know, virtual racing too that is of any value? I mean, I've seen the America's Cup teams where they've got their joysticks and their big screen and they're, you know, battling each other and doing moves. And is that something that you're able to do at this point?
Yeah, I think we've all, you know, as a competitor, you're always looking to get better and find a competitive advantage. And, you know, I think all of us, I know Riley, Taylor, myself, our entire sailing team, but Joe's kind of been encouraging us to do different things. And so, yeah, we've definitely all done some e-gaming and some simulators and you name it. But at the end of the day, there's still no substitute for time on the boat together. You know, these are definitely by far the most complex boats in the world. And, you know, time on the boat is pretty critical.
Are you much of a virtual regatta guy?
I'm not. I wasn't before, you know, the lockdown, but I've kind of started to dabble in the virtual racing a bit.
Right. Hey, Kimo, how about you?
No.
No? Yeah. Are you still on dial-up?
I got enough stuff going on. I don't need to get caught up in virtual racing.
Yeah, we do. We've had plenty going on the last month and a half. I haven't. I know the guys have been a lot more involved than I have, but Kimo and I have had our hands full with dealing with other things, and so. Yeah.
Now, I mean, back to Kimo's point about how lucky you are, I guess, if you want to use that term, to have this, you know, opportunity to sail these boats. But I know that, Rome, when you and I talked, you know, this gig that you've been gifted can be easily taken away from you because the league needs to progress to a more independently supported platform, and that was something that you were just starting to get in your claws into. You know, the league wants to support the teams less, and the teams need to, you know, come up with the funds to be supporting them. You know, I'm guessing that this stoppage has been pretty brutal in terms of that progress.
Yeah, it's definitely, I mean, obviously, like you said, you know, it's like any competitive sport. It's from a performance standpoint and from a commercial standpoint, if you're not performing on the water and off the water, you know, you're definitely in jeopardy of losing your job. So, you know, we definitely, I think every team's felt the pressure all around to make this, you know, commercially sustainable, but also, you know, perform on the water. But yeah, it's definitely been a tough stoppage. We had a lot of really good stuff lined up from the sailing standpoint. You know, we were making pretty big strides and going in the right direction. And then same from the commercial side, we definitely were going in the right direction and had some good stuff going on. And unfortunately, we had to stop that and shut it all down.
Now, not to keep reminding us how old Kimo is, but
you keep going.
Kimo spent a lot of years in this sport alongside your dad, alongside a couple other people on your team. You know, Peter Kinney and also Riley Gibbs. So, Kimo, when you're in the meeting room and you're looking around the table,
it's depressing. It's depressing, Craig.
Who most resembles their dad, or you know, can you see their dads?
Yeah. I'd say Riley. Riley's like Stan the most. He walks the same. He's got the same mannerisms. He's got the same kind of jokes and everything else. Yeah, I'd say Riley.
Long Beach, California.
Yeah.
As Stan Gibbs. Now, you probably didn't sail with Stan quite as much as against him.
I sailed quite a bit on the Babe Ruth race and stuff. I sailed a couple of times. Yeah. Stan and I, we sailed a bunch, and I didn't sail as much. I sailed with Jerry and Robert Kenny a lot more. You know,
right? Yeah.
Robert, Yeah, because remember you sailed with us too. Remember the big boat series of Robert Kenny? Remember that? You know, remember that getting the microphone, telling that the maxi yacht how to drive his boat into the dock. You don't remember that?
Yeah. The internet, Kimo. Yeah, why there was a loud handler on the boat, and why it had a full set of fresh single-A batteries.
It was priceless. He had a
You told that story in Sydney to the entire team. Craig, that was you?
Yeah, that was
the loud hailer on the no way.
Yeah.
That story is unbelievable.
And
this is the good old days, because if you go to Francis Yacht Club and the marina there, everyone at the Big Boat Series used to be able to dock within the marina. I mean, and there was big boats back then, the Kilos and the Windward Passages and the Ondines. Everybody docked in there. And so it's pretty cool. I mean, nowadays, everyone's keels are so darn deep that they got to go across the bay and shuttle across, and it changed the whole vibe. But, you know, apparently parking a big maxi boat within that marina can be a little hard sometimes.
Especially when the kids yelling at a microphone, Captain, turn port, put her in forward. And it's Huey Long driving, and he's getting madder and madder. And the crew's walking to the bow, just trying and Craig just kept going and kept yelling at him. Oh, we were got curve feelers. Remember curve feelers? You don't know what curve feelers are, do you, Rome?
I was going to say.
No, you put them on your bumper, man. Of course I know what curb feelers are. Come on.
Well, then we went and put curb feelers on the side of their boat.
Because that was the good old days, too, when you'd have that aluminum railing around the boat with little holes in it so you could put your snatch blocks in the but, you know, them curb feelers, they don't know the difference between a car or a boat. Anyway, but now it's okay. So Stan and Riley, but Jerry Kirby and Robert Kinney, those are a couple of notorious guys.
Yes, yeah, I mean, no question.
I got a feeling their kids don't resemble them at all. I mean, it's like 2.0 in a good way.
Yeah, right. Oh yeah, they're way more sophisticated than their dads for sure. All the dads are total knuckleheads, and the kids are actually pretty sorted out.
Yeah,
much more mature than us for sure.
So Rome, I before the Rio 2016 Olympics, I went around to the team and I asked a lot of the team members, best smile, best hair, and all those questions seem a little lame for me to be asking you about your teammate. But you've got you've got a group of people that everyone's kind of having to live together and kind of find their lane. But of that group, who would you consider the mellowest? That one person that's probably just going to fit in easily.
Mellowest on our team.
Yeah.
Just the sailing team or the shore team?
Let's keep it on the sailing team.
All right.
Including Kimo more than he should be.
I would say Hans is probably the mellowest. Hans and PK are up there.
Yeah. He's like, Hans is like a rocket scientist or something, isn't he?
Yeah, I think he's got an aerospace engineering degree from Stanford.
He's crazy. He's crazy smart. Those smart people, the quiet people are the ones that are scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then biggest personality?
Probably PK.
Yeah.
And Riley and PK.
Yeah. Last one to wake up in the morning?
Riley.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. So now, Kimo, I think I've heard Paul Kayard say this, and let's just get this out in the open. Kimo won the Volvo Ocean Race. He only had to do it once. Let's keep repeating it. And you did it with Paul Kayard. But I think Paul said this, but I know Kenny's said this a bunch of times, that they wouldn't go to sea without you. That they wouldn't get involved in these projects without you. So what kind of pixie dust are you sprinkling on these gigs? Because now Rome is joined into this belief system.
That's a good question. Probably the best way to answer it is, and I didn't know what it was, honestly. And then I had my profile done with a thing called Predictive Index. And it kind of reads out what kind of person you are. And it says, I'm a team builder. I like to kind of make a cohesive team. I want everybody to work together. And that's what I try and strive for, is to how to get everybody to get along, and make sure everyone, is communicating, because that's if you don't communicate, the whole thing falls apart pretty quick, so I guess that's what it is. I don't know.
I'll help you out, Kimo, so you don't have to talk about yourself.
Yeah, I was going to say, Rome.
What is it about Kimo? What is it about him, Rome?
No, at the end of the day, Kimo, but it's not often you get a guy who's won the America's Cup, won the Volvo, multiple world championships from the sailor side, but also has the experience and the kind of demeanor and personality to kind of, get involved on the management side. So Kimo's kind of been on both sides of the fence and understands the entire game pretty well. And he really understands what the sailors are going through from a pressure standpoint, whether he's running a SailGP team or an America's Cup team or a Volvo team. Kimo definitely understands what the sailors are dealing with, what they need, but also, what the sponsors and kind of shore team and you name it. Kimo's kind of been there, done that from a management and a sailing point of view.
What I always liked about Kimo is that he doesn't have much of a filter, but it always seems you can always take what he says. He's got, he's saying things you don't want to hear, but he's got a big smile on his face, and there's going to be there's going to be no hard feelings regardless of what he says. You might not want to hear it, but his bluntness is you kind of appreciate it at the end of it. And as Kimo, as you said, it's all about communication.
Yeah, everything. Yeah, just getting everyone to work together. Because everybody has a different skill set, and it's not trying to put someone into, the wrong skill, right? You just got to make the best out of everybody, and make sure they're fit in the right place and they're doing the right job.
Okay, I've got a couple of questions I've been asking the last few days in Scuttlebutt for some questions for you guys. So I picked out a few that we'll see if we can get through. But before I get to that, I don't want to forget something else that just happened today. I learned, and I don't know. I've got all the information in front of me, Rome. But you want to speak about this auction that's happening?
Sure, happy.
And I want to say also that I've got the whole info, and I'm going to publish it on Scuttlebutt tonight, and we'll keep promoting this to try to help you out. But what's going on right now, Rome?
So hopefully I don't drop the ball here. And this is where you need your PR team to come in, and they're probably going to reprimand me for presenting this poorly. So there's my disclaimer.
Here's the info right here.
Yeah. No, we accepted this all-in challenge, which is kind of fighting. I think they've raised close to 41 million already. And it's on fanatics.com, and you can go on and bid on all sorts of different experiences. And so basically we were presented with this opportunity, and we took it, and I want to get this right, but
I'll save you the details, but it's
yeah.
It's and I know that your social media channels are pumping this out right now. So the info's there, but and some of this stuff has just never been offered before.
No. So you get to ride on the chase boat on a race day. You basically get to come spend a full day with the SailGP USA team. You get to ride on the F50 with us.
Repeat
Wait a minute. Ride on an F50.
I was going to say, Rome, repeat that. Nobody gets to go riding on these boats.
Yeah. So they get to, they'll get to sit shotgun behind me and Riley and Taylor and the rest of the group. And
wait a minute. Ride again, right? I get that. Ride, like go 47 knots, Craig.
Yeah.
You only go 47.
Yeah. Because you get to have dinner with the team. That's cool. You get to have the full kit of gear. That's cool. You get there's VIP experiences. You get to hang out with Russell Coots and Rome. All that stuff is cool. But you also get to ride on the boat.
Yeah. I haven't even gone on the boat.
Well, and your travel, your travel and hotel, everything's
taken care
All
of.
inclusive.
All right. Well, they don't want to hurt you, Kimo.
Yeah.
But yeah, hopefully whoever it is will get to go 45 to 50.
No, this is a massive experience, and it's going to come down. Ride with the team during. It's either at San Francisco or New York, and I'm not sure how it gets decided, and maybe it's about the person. But anyway, that info will be in Scuttlebutt, or check out the SailGP US team's social media channels and stuff like that. But okay, so back to the questions. Rome, I'm going to start with you.
Uh-oh.
Buckle up, because I have a feeling that this one comes from someone from the way back, considering that they're talking about something that happened to you when you were 12 or 13 years old. Ask Rome about his 12-meter sailing on Hissar. Mast and bow at about 12 or 13 years old, getting hung up by his shorts on the topping lift. Early education. Any tough love from the way back?
Yeah, I was pretty fortunate enough to, I was a little dinghy punk, sailing opties and 420s, and that's all I did. I was fortunate enough to have guys like Kimo and Mike Topa drag me along on the Hissar for a couple events. I didn't know anything about big boat sailing and the mechanics of a big boat, but it was a pretty good education. I don't remember being hung up by the topping lift. I do remember getting stuffed in a spinnaker bag by John Von Shorts, who Kimo knows, and some of the big grinders. Yeah, I do remember that. I don't remember getting hung up by my shorts, but I do remember getting stuffed in a spinnaker.
Spinnaker turtles. That spinnaker turtles is the classic go-to move.
Yeah, I was I don't blame him. I was probably a little punk at 13, 14. So.
Yeah. So now, Kimo, I probably shouldn't even be asking this one, but it's because it came with a mutual friend that I didn't want to get grief for not asking it. And I don't remember you winning this contest. And I'm not even sure why it's a contest. But he said, ask Kimo what it was like to win the Dress Like Craig Leweck Day at Big Boat Series in the
That's right. We used to do that.
what would that even be?
Oh, because you had like the orange blazer, or you had some goofy shorts on and shoes or something. Yeah, there was some, because you always dressed different than everybody.
Well, and again, maybe this is like a corded telephone to Rome. Before fancy IOR boats had full kit uniforms that would get the memo in the morning as to what color to wear.
I think you used to wear like a blazer, like a funny purple blazer down to the dock.
It's a classy sport, Kimo.
A classy sport coat. That was it. It was a classy sport coat.
And a classy sport. This is at St. Francis Yacht Club. I mean, come on.
Yeah, with
some respect.
Yeah, I think we had Ramus Fizzes in the morning too, John.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, breakfast. Okay, so now both of you guys, and we're going to start with Kimo on this one, but, because Kimo went around the world, in the era of cotton clothes, probably.
No.
But this guy's asked, I read about these articles in Scuttlebutt about long-distance ocean racing around the world. What form of heaters do these boats use to keep the off-crew watch from freezing their tails off? Now, Kimo, when you went around the world that one time down in the lower latitudes where it can be a little cold, you get off watch, you take off your gear, and you fire up the furnace, and
the first leg,
the oven up.
The first leg we didn't, from Cape Town to Australia.
Didn't you get frostbite, Kimo?
Yeah, I got frostbite and 6 fingers on that one. And I don't think the heater worked so well, and K-Yard went off on us when we got in, and we got the heater to work. It was a little gas heater, and we piped it out the radar tower. So we had a little heater in there just to warm the boat up a little bit. Because back in
was this the first year of the 70?
No, this is the 60s.
60? Oh.
Yeah. This is the year we had spinnaker poles and the whole thing, and this is back in the day.
Yeah.
And then we had a little bit of a heater that worked, and we won that next leg from New Zealand to Brazil.
Rome, were there heaters when you went around?
Nope.
No, but they were north. They weren't even near the ice. Those guys were
Bullshit.
like
Kimo,
ice skates.
do you not remember? I still have permanent skin damage because
Yeah.
I got frostbite
And they go
from the
faster.
Volvo.
Yeah,
I
they're
had
going.
like baseballs under my eyes because obviously you got the dry suit, your goggles on, your hood up. And the only time we had, I don't know how many guys got hurt on our leg, but we had to, for a point there, we had to do like a 6-man watch.
Yeah, you guys were in trouble.
We were in a pickle.
We almost because we had a plan to stop you on one of the islands. I forgot off of New Zealand. We were to pull you in. We had a whole SWAT team ready to go to pull you in because guy was a shoulder. If we didn't get his shoulder put back in,
so Tompy's shoulder.
Yeah, within like a half hour, that was it.
Yeah, Jono's elbow was infected and blown up, so he couldn't drive trim. Casey's back was done.
Yep.
And then
Right now,
we had another issue as well.
what leg is this?
This was the round
New
Cape
Zealand.
Horn, so Auckland to Brazil. And we got down to like 58 south or 56 or I don't know. We were pretty deep before we jibed. And it was cold. I mean, it was snow on the deck. And
It was nasty. They had like a jib up. They had a jib up and 2 reefs, right, for days.
yeah, and we were still doing 35, 40 knots, and it was insane.
And
But yeah, I ended up getting frostbite under my eyes because you'd be driving, and I didn't spend tons of time driving the boat unless guys would get tired. But first time I spent serious amounts of time driving was in the Southern Ocean. I'm like, oh, this is cool. 70-foot waves and 40 plus knots. And so I opened my, kind of face, whatever guard to get some airflow through my goggles. And of course I did a watch with that open and got frostbite. So.
Wow. So, boys and girls out there,
Don't do the Volvo Ocean.
It's not easy. That's a tough leg.
yeah, and don't let them fool you. Just because it has a different name now, it's still the same race.
Yeah.
Oh, I think it'd be harder than those things.
Yeah.
Rolling around with the noise, the thing dropping off zooming along and all of a sudden dropping. Oh,
But with
At least you're under. You're kind of out of the
spray.
spray, which is
this is the Emeco 60s.
yeah.
Yeah. Maybe there'll be a rule where they take the big canopy down and you have to go be a sailor.
I
don't know. That's pretty nice.
Yeah.
That would be hard.
Well, I was thinking because a lot of times when we talk about this sport and wanting to chase these cool races and travel out of our area, it comes down to the people we meet and the opportunities that we were given. Kimo, can you reflect back? I mean, kind of maybe already mentioned one where you left as a 19-year-old, but in your life, who were some of the people and maybe some of the big opportunities that you were lucky enough to get? I mean, when you want to climb up, a lot of times there's got to be a hand, pulling you up, and the opportunities that you got. And I'm going to ask you this same question, Rome, so you can ponder it a little bit. But what were some of those moments that allowed you to advance your sailing career?
I would say obviously my dad. I sail with my dad a lot. And the other one would be a guy named Henry Pepper. And he was like the first guy in Marina del Rey that stripped out the inside of the boat. He was all about the weight. He was a scientist. He was really smart and kind of eccentric. And he literally stripped out the boat, had like a little motorcycle battery. So we had the boat. Thing was fast because there was no weight in it. We had nothing in it. And, him and he sailed with my dad and I think his son, and we won the Ranger 26 national championships against the North guys. Like all the North guys came in with all the North fancy gear and they were pissed because we beat them with all old shitty sails and stuff. So that was probably Henry Pepper, Ray Russell. John McLaurin was obviously a great influence, all my life. And then there was another guy, a guy named Rob Vaughn, which I sailed to Tahiti with him when I was 16 on a brand new Freres 48. So that was like just right place, right time. And, he went away. I was gone for, pre-internet days, right? 3 months when I was 16. Think about it. I got off you get off the boat and you call your mom and you sleep on the boat. You don't get to go to like fancy hotel rooms like these guys when they get off the boat. We lived on the boat for 3 months. So and everything just kind of, like I said, right time, right place. Just lucky.
And then you're on you did the America's Cup at 19 with Long, and then the next America's Cup was with Rod Davis.
Yeah, but then I went and sailed the Finn. Remember, I went and sailed the Finn. I gave up doing the America's Cup because I was asked to do it with Blackcollar. Because Blackcollar came in. Blackcollar, now talk about a fun guy. He was fun. And then I stopped and went and did the Finn campaign for a while.
That's a whole nother show.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Little known fact of Kimo that he was a Finn sailor.
Yeah.
So then, for you, Rome, who are some of the people, and then I'm going to guess what some of the opportunities were, because you are of the internet age. Who are some of the people that really kind of kicked you up the scale?
I could go on and on. There's a big list of plenty of people that help you along the way for sure. Obviously, like Kimo said, my dad, definitely my interest was in sailing, and but I would say Mike Topa, Kenny Reed, but then even guys like Russell, whether they see something in you or and Brad Butterworth, Simon Dobney, there's definitely been a lot of guys that have kind of got, you sail dinghies as a kid and you sail all the way through, and whether they see something in you in your late teens, that kind of, I would say those guys have definitely helped me along the way. There's so many names that have helped you along the way that I'd probably not doing it any justice.
I was gonna say we probably should stop now, because the more you go in, the more you're gonna start be apt to forgetting people. But
I got one more though. I got to mention. I got one more.
What's that?
I'd say my mom's been my best sidekick through all.
Patsy.
Yep. She's the one that's always kind of believed and kind of pushed you along and helped you with the Finn campaign and the whole thing, and go do this, go do that. Yeah. So I'd say my mom.
And they broke the mold with all those parents of that era.
Yeah, they did.
The amount of leash that was given.
Yeah, there was some. You're right. You wouldn't be allowed to leave at 16 for 3 months.
She'd be arrested right now.
Yeah, she would.
She'd be in the popo. I was thinking. I think Kimo had mentioned. It might have been before we started that his first job as getting paid to sail based on his sailing skills, not based on the fact he knew how to fix a winch, was with Russell Long and that America's Cup campaign. Rome, what was that first Puma job? Was that, or you probably had some gigs before that where you started climbing up and were starting to make a little bit of money?
Yeah, I wasn't, to be honest. I was sailing dinghies. I wasn't making any money until then. I didn't know anything until I did the Volvo. And of course, fortunately enough, my first kind of real big boat opportunity came with Team Aqua in kind of 2010 when we were sailing on that tour, when we were doing match racing and fleet racing. And I was still sailing dinghies 24/7, but I wasn't really making any money. Especially as an amateur, you're not making any money. And I was in school and, figuring out whether I wanted to go down the Olympic path or pro sailing. And then obviously Kenny and Kimo came along and the opportunity with Puma popped up, and it was hard to say no. So, but yeah, I was fortunate enough to go around with that group. It was a pretty, all-star group. I was definitely fortunate enough to absorb a lot of information and be with a group that I think every guy on that boat, maybe apart from one, had won the Volvo Ocean Race. Maybe one or two, but yeah. We had a pretty stacked team, and it was a pretty unbelievable experience.
The when we spoke before earlier this year, and you shared, where your heart lied on a couple things, and I hate to bring up a tough subject, but how are we doing now that TP12 is out of town and you're are getting recreated down in Tampa? Can that sport just stay in lockdown for infinity now?
Oh man. It'll be interesting to see what happens. I mean, whether the NFL even has us, starts on time, or who knows, but a little disappointed that Tom's gone.
Yeah. Now, and you also, you being a New Englander, having good sports teams is just something that, just another reason why the rest of the world hates you.
It's a place to live.
Speaking, sitting here in San Diego, we go to the park for the beer and the food, I think. But you were a big Bruins fans too, and I, when the NHL stopped, where were the Bruins at? I mean, is it okay that doesn't get started again, or I don't know how they work?
I mean, it's always hard to say, but if there was a year, obviously, the last few years they've had a pretty good run at the Stanley Cup, and I think this year wouldn't surprise me if they were back in it.
Yeah. But
unfortunately, it doesn't look like it's the case. I think the NHL is done for the season as well.
Kimo, let's hit on some of the hard asking questions that I had asked Rome earlier this year. Okay, you ready for the speed questions?
Whatever. Yeah, let her
go. Dog or cat?
What? No.
Dog or neither?
No.
Neither.
Who are you?
Dog, I guess. Why are you a dog? All right, dog.
Heartless.
Before.
God. On the airplane, window or aisle?
Short flights, window. Long flights, aisle.
Yeah.
It's yes or no. It's like binary, ones and zeros.
No. Yes,
no. Window, aisle. Like you can't. This is rapid fire, man.
This is a zombie apocalypse. I can do anything at this point.
Craig, this is exactly why this is the internet. Like he's behind the 8 ball. Come on, Kimo.
Yeah. So glad we only have 3 minutes left. Bike, exercise, bike or run?
Bike.
Yeah. Burpees or suicide?
I
know you burpees.
Yeah, I hate burpees too. Suicide, no.
Bacon or sausage?
Oh, meat candy all day.
Yeah?
Bacon, yeah.
Okay, all right. Hey, Rome, since we've revealed to the world that you'll happily take a free vodka soda if somebody offered it to you, has any of those offers been kicking in?
Nope.
No? All right, let's just repeat this. If Rome walks into the bar and you're standing there in position, just add a vodka soda to your order, okay? All right?
Thank you. Thank you.
And Kimo, if for you, what should they be ordering?
Oh, tequila. And someone sent me a bottle of tequila the other day, and I don't know where it came from. Oh, I'm a tequila guy, straight up. Don't mix it with anything. Just, yeah.
Tequila? What tequila?
Casamigos Añejo. It's my favorite.
Oh, yeah? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
On the rocks?
Oh, yeah, straight. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's
the healthiest drink there is.
Well, and that, when you get older, you start wondering how many calories are in
exactly.
liquor. And I learned that all liquor is about the same amount of calories, but it's it's always the mixer. So that's why I gave Rome high marks for growing vodka soda, because that's the old person's drink. And so it's good that he learns how to appreciate that now. But tequila has other health qualities.
It does? Good.
It does.
It does. It does.
Yeah, it's actually good for you. So
yeah, it is. That's what I say. It's the healthiest drink there is.
Drink tequila.
Go look on the internet. The healthiest drink will be tequila. It'll come up.
Exactly.
Less sugar, everything else.
The fact that you guys both make your living in the sport, and there really isn't much sport going on right now. And I don't need to remind myself, because I have a publication that focuses on a sport that's not happening right now. So my days are pretty fun too. But now, Rome, you know, I hate to go there, but your dad's got a construction business.
Yep.
You know, have you been called into action to swing a hammer or
No, but I actually helped my brother tear down his house the other day. So I did get back on the tools for a day,
yeah.
but didn't get paid for it. So I don't know what. Yeah.
Yeah, that's being a sibling, I think.
Yeah.
And now, Kimo, I understand this. The kiteboarding is you're ready to take your game to the next level.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you've got to you got to work your way around the popo, right?
Yeah, the popo's in the way right now, and I think we're going out on Friday. We're gonna go. I have a way to get around the popo. Because
you're in Florida, and you know this wacky lockdown is different wherever you're sitting.
Yeah, and it's shut down here for sure.
Yeah.
But there's guys out kiting. The young kids who can launch themselves, they can get out around the popo. So
okay, all right. Well, I'll be sure we're at the bewitching hour. I'll be sure to get the information out with regard to your team's auction, because that's ridiculous what's being offered, and that you know, fingers crossed that we all get through this lockdown well, and that we pick up the SailGP party next April. Is it, or is it later in San Francisco?
Yep. Dates are already set.
April 2021, and that you guys you know, parlay all your hard work and give us something fun to cheer for.
For sure.
That's the idea.
All right. Hey, Brittany, how do we sound out of this gig? I wasn't given that the superpowers there.
I think you just get stopped.
I think there she is.
You have the power. All you have to do is say thanks and goodbye. So thank you, everybody.
Oh, you know, yep. And I've got an ending script here that I don't want to blow because U.S. Sailing has been jumping through hoops to stay active and remain important and a critical cog to the sport. And this this portal, the Starboard portal, is that what we're called? The Starboard portal. I'm blowing it now. Now this has been a real cool thing, and we're still doing it 2 months into it after like the hairs. I guess if you talk to people, both Rome and Kimo have had haircuts.
No, only the front, just right here.
Only the front, yeah.
You can't cut the rest.
But if you've enjoyed today's session or any of these sessions, please support our efforts to build a community of active and engaged sailors throughout the Starboard portal by purchasing or renewing your U.S. Sailing membership. Everyone needs to be a member. We have a lot of great content coming up on the schedule, and there's certainly a lot that's on the archive. So thanks to U.S. Sailing members. U.S. Sailing is adapting and evolving to better serve you with content like this. Hope you've had a good time. Go online, renew your subscriptions, memberships. You know, happy hands makes a job easier, something like that. So for Kimo and Rome, my name's Craig Leweck. I hope you all have had a good time, and thanks, guys. And onward.
All right. Thank you. See you, everybody.
Thanks.
Bye-bye. Where are we at?
All right, we're off the air. Thanks, guys.